Amidst the dread, stress, and vulnerability encompassing the coronavirus pandemic, every day appears to bring news that is more awful than the day preceding. The reason for concern is advocated. Be that as it may, as in most serious calamities, catastrophes, and general well-being dangers, there are explanations behind expectation and even positive thinking. They might be difficult to see, regardless of whether you're a cup half full, or it could generally be more regrettable kind of individual. Yet, they are there. Here's a couple. The uplifting news about the coronavirus pandemic. A great many people with COVID-19 recoup. Gauges currently propose that 95% of individuals contaminated with the infection that causes COVID-19 will recuperate. A few people have no side effects by any means. And keeping in mind that a huge number of individuals have passed away, the general passing rate is about 5%, or maybe even lower, far not as much as MERS, about 34%, SARS, about 11%, however higher than the normal occasional influenza, 0.1%. The death toll identified with this disease is horrible, and unquestionably more cases are normal. However, dependent on the casualty rates alone, it could be far more regrettable. Youngsters appear to be tainted less frequently and have milder malady. As indicated by the CDC, most by far of diseases so far have burdened grown-ups. What's more, when children are tainted, they will, in general, have milder malady. For kids and their folks, that is uplifting news. In any case, note that kids can create contamination. An ongoing report from China right off the bat in the flare-up showed that few children, particularly newborn children and little children, can create genuine disease. As is genuine for the most part, all things considered, children can spread the disease without indications. However, how regularly this happens is muddled. It's astounding, however, blessed, this new coronavirus doesn't act the way such huge numbers of different ailments do, in which the old and the youthful are especially helpless. The quantity of new cases is falling where the flare-up started. During his discourse pronouncing the new coronavirus episode a pandemic, the Executive General of the WHO brought up that China and the Republic of Korea have fundamentally declining scourges. Truth be told, Wuhan region, site of the absolute first cases, has quite recently detailed no new neighborhood cases, just because since the flare-up started, the main new cases were imported from explorers showing up there. While real numbers are difficult to check, and the techniques these nations use to contain contamination, for example, forceful symptomatic testing and severe seclusion measures, are probably not going to be pragmatic or worthy all over the place. If the quantity of new cases in China is genuinely declining, that is something to be thankful for, and proposes that endeavors to contain the spread of this disease can be fruitful. The web exists. We at present have approaches to rehearse social removing that protect probably some social and clinical associations. Individuals in segregation or isolation can request help, visit companions, see family and specialists for all intents and purposes, and give reports on their condition. Our reaction to future pandemics ought to improve. The COVID-19 pandemic has uncovered inadequacies in human services frameworks all through the world that give a chance to improve them. For instance, a quicker worldwide reaction, better and snappier dispersion of testing packs, and increasingly planned and intelligible open informing ought not out of the ordinary whenever around. No assurances, obviously. Numerous individuals and associations have ventured up to improve the circumstance. In the U.S., for instance, some significant well-being backup plans have vowed to cover care and testing identified with COVID-19. Various big names and expert competitors have given critical assets to help those enduring money-related shock by the pandemic, for example, the laborers at the arenas where competitors play. Recently affirmed enactment gives paid wiped-out leave and paid family and clinical leave for some American laborers, free testing for individuals without kit protection, and added financing to states for Medicaid. There are incalculable accounts of individuals bailing each other out. Here's one I especially like. The reality. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, the new coronavirus pestilence is a major issue that is required to increase in the many months to come. For the individuals who are tainted just as those attempting to maintain a strategic distance from contamination, these are tempting times. Be that as it may, in the midst of all the fate and anguish, there are some positive stories, positive messages and motivations to stay cheerful. When the populace of this nation is so politically partitioned, we can likewise trust that this risk unites us in manners that help us to all the more likely perceive shared traits. We're all human, we become ill, and we stress over friends and family. As social animals, we attempt to help each other when awful things occur. In the event that occurs, it would be uplifting news that couldn't have been anticipated before the pandemic.